Will one of Cincinnati's most notorious serial killers stay on death row, or will Anthony Kirkland spend the rest of his life in prison for murdering Cassandra Crawford and Esme Kenny?
A new jury and a new judge will decide his fate as early as next week. The 9 on Your Side I-Team discovered that resentencing on death penalty cases is extremely rare.
I-Team reporter Hillary Lake talked exclusively to the judge who presided over Kirkland's original trial. She explains why Kirkland gets another chance at life.
The trial was held here at the Hamilton County Courthouse almost a decade ago. The judge tells me he can't believe this is happening, but he respects the system.
Do you wish to proceed with your guilty pleas?
Lives change here every day.
Has anybody threatened you or promised you anything in order to plead guilty?
It's where this Hamilton County judge serves justice.
The court accepts the pleas and finds the defendant guilty.
But these walls won't witness a do-over in Anthony Kirkland's resentencing for murder.
You never have a perfect trial. I mean, it would almost be like pitching a perfect game.
Kirkland was charged with brutally killing 2 teen girls. 14-year-old Cassandra Crawford's body was found in Avondale in 2006, burned beyond recognition. Kirkland killed 13-year-old Esme Kenny 3 years later while she was on a run by herself. He left her burned body in a wooded area on Winton Road. Judge Charles Kubicki presided over Kirkland's trial in 2010.
That was a very, very difficult trial because it was so horrific.
Now, the highest court in Ohio is giving Kirkland a second chance at life. Judge Kubicki has recused himself from the resentencing.
Once I've read the victim impact statements and I'd already made the decision I did, I thought it was probably best and cleanest for the case to go on to somebody else.
Kirkland was initially on trial for 4 murders.
And you also had the autopsy photos, and you know, there's certain things you just won't forget.
Kirkland murdered Kimya Rollison and Mary Jo Newton in 2006 after he murdered Cassandra Crawford. He pled guilty. Judge Kubicki gave him the maximum sentence possible, life in prison.
A lot of times you think that your imagination is worse than the reality, but in this particular case, the reality was worse than what your imagination could come up with.
A jury convicted Kirkland in the Crawford and Kenny murders.
I don't deserve to live, but please spare my life.
The jury recommended the death penalty, and Judge Kubicki agreed. Kirkland appealed his convictions and death sentence 4 times, losing every time. Yet in 2014, his 4th appeal, the Ohio Supreme Court found the prosecutor may have, quote, affected Kirkland's rights. Joe Dieters called Crawford and Kenny's murders, quote, freebies for Kirkland if the jury didn't recommend the death penalty. Remember, Kirkland was already serving a life sentence for the 2 other murders.
Do you blame the prosecutor's office for saying that?
No, I don't blame them. I don't blame anybody for anything. I think everybody did the best they could.
In March 2016, Kirkland's team filed a 5th appeal with the Ohio Supreme Court. It asks only for resentencing. The convictions will stick. This time, the court said yes.
Did the Ohio State Supreme Court make the right decision?
That's a pay grade above mine. They're where they are to go ahead and make their decision, and they've made their decision, and all I can do is respect their decision.
Second chances and controversy have surrounded Kirkland since he committed his first murder in 1987. He only served 16 years in prison for killing Leola Douglas because of new parole rules. The I-Team tracked down Douglas's twin brother.
I feel it's like the system care more about the criminals than they do the victims and their family members.
Esme Kenny's family also had issues with the system after they learned a halfway house in Cincinnati released Kirkland days before he killed the 13-year-old, but didn't notify the parole board.
To cause trouble and then leave the Polk Center, basically being released back into the public, those are things that just absolutely need to change.
The state did change the rules about how halfway houses deal with people on parole because of Kenny's death. That doesn't change the fact that Anthony Kirkland might get what he told the court in 2010 he doesn't deserve.
I don't deserve to live, but please spare my life.
As Judge Kubicki sits at his bench, the faces of Kirkland's victims aren't far from his mind. He says this case changed him too, and he has a message for the victims' families.
It's been several years. I'm sorry that you have to go through this. I'm sorry if it's reopening an old wound.
A new judge and a new jury will decide if Kirkland stays on death row or gets to spend the rest of his life locked up. Prospective jurors report on Thursday. The resentencing hearing begins on Monday, November 13th in front of Judge Patrick Dinkelacker. At the Hamilton County Courthouse, Hillary Lake, 9 on your side.